We have Grandmaster Arjun Erigaisi making his way to the playing hall. He is the current India number 1 and a player who has played in all the editions of the Chennai Grandmasters. His opponent for round 1 is Dmitry Andreikin. For Arjun, this tournament is very special because not only uh, he gets to play on Indian soil, but also the main sponsor of this event, Quantbox, is also his main sponsor. How will Arjun fare in this tournament is the question. Will he be able to win this one? Until now, Arjun has not managed to win any of the editions of the Chennai Grandmasters. In 2023, it was Gukesh who triumphed. Arjun did, I think, score the same number of points as Gukesh, but on tie breaks, it was Gukesh who triumphed. Then in 2024, it was Arvind Chidambaram, and in 2025, we had Vincent Keimer who emerged at the top. This time control that this tournament has, which is 90 minutes plus 30 seconds increment per move, is very interesting. There you see Andreikin coming in, and this has been the strongest edition of Chennai Grandmasters. We have players who are here. Nodirbek Abdusattarov, Alireza Firuza, Nihal Sarin, Gukesh, Hans Niemann, an incredibly strong lineup of players playing in. In order to open the first round, we have the guest of honor here, Sambasivam Ganesan. He is the CFO at Tata Play and someone who loves chess very, very deeply. And here he is to make the first move in, and he opens with pawn to d4 here. And we are all ready to go. I think a very good opportunity for Arjun to play against Andreikin in round 1 with the white pieces. The players shake hands and off we go. Arjun plays pawn to e4. And Andreikin, what is his move going to be? By the way, in 2010, when I was 20 years old, I played the World Juniors in Poland. And at that point, the person who had won the tournament back then was Dmitry Andreikin. Then later, he also played at the FIDE Candidates tournament in 2014. So, world-class Grandmaster, has slowed down a bit in recent times, but is surely a 2700 plus player. Now, bishop c4, we have the Italian on the board, knight to f6. Will Arjun go for knight to g5 lines? That would be something. He goes d3, very solid. And I believed Andreikin will go bishop to c5. Instead, he goes for bishop e7, which is more solid, more stable, getting the bishop out, planning to short castle. You have knight coming out to c3. The knight looks at a central square on d5. Pawn comes up to d6. And pawn to a3, just making a luft for the bishop to drop back in case the knight comes and attacks the bishop. We have castling for black. And bishop comes out to d2. Pawn comes up to a5. Trying to stop maybe the expansion with b4, and Arjun playing h3. Sometimes I wonder what's the point of this move like bishop d2. But I think it's all part of some deep opening prep. Sometimes it's just a move that the engine recommends that starts becoming useful at a later point. Like here after knight d5, the bishop might be very well placed on d2. So this is what modern chess preparation is all about. While Andreikin tries to figure out things on the board, Arjun is in his prep. a4, a nice move, clamping down the queen side. And now Arjun has a choice between taking on e7 and taking on f6. He decides to castle first, gets his king to safety. I mean, you would like to play takes, but the knight doesn't really have a great square to go to. So he waits. He plays pawn to h6. And Arjun can now play rook e1, improve the position of his rook. He does play it, defends e4, and also prepares maybe at some point to play c3 d4 in the position. Rook to e8 played, and we have pawn to b4, gaining space on the queen side. 8 takes b3 taken, and now Arjun, I think, should take with the c pawn. Otherwise, his a pawn gets isolated. So he takes cb3. The rook has opened up on the a file, but I think white's queenside pawns are very strong, and the bishop on d2 suddenly starts to make a lot of sense. Okay, bishop drops back to f8, and I think Arjun will go b4 now. There's also an idea of putting the bishop on c3 and angling for the d4 break. He does go pawn to b4. And now knight to b8. And that's very much in the spirit of the Breyer system. You want to play c6. You want to get your knight to d7. Knight takes on f6. And queen takes f6 is a good possible move. He takes, queen takes on f6. And we have bishop to c3. The bishop looks here on this diagonal. Once again, d4 is in the air. Knight comes out to d7. And Arjun plays a4. You can just feel it that Arjun has this small nagging edge in the positions, more space, and Andreikin plays c6. Now, Arjun can push his pawn to b5. He can also push his pawn to a5. He can improve his queen, maybe queen b3. He goes pawn to a5, grabbing some more space. But would Andreikin like to play d5? I doubt, because the e5 pawn does look very weak after that. So d5 looks fine, but it's not the move that I think he would play. He once again brings his knight back to b8, and now Arjun takes on e6. This time the knight wants to go via a6, c7 and b5. Takes with the queen and pawn to d4. Big threat. You want to take and win the pawn on e5. So you have knight a6 still played, and if d, and if you take on e5, b4 hangs. If you take knight e5, still b4 hangs. So Arjun decides to not open up this bishop here. He keeps this intact, plays his rook to e3. Now bishop to e7. I guess Andreikin wants to put his bishop on f6. He goes rook to b1. Just putting pressure. Just defending b4. Starting to put pressure on e5. Bishop f6 defends the pawn. And now, can Arjun go pawn to b5? Just pushing forward. He does play it, pawn to b5, and now the pressure on b7 point rises. We have knight to c7 played. And should we go even b6? I guess to b6 he will simply come back here or go knight b5. Oh, he does play b6. The problem is that knight a6 is a bit passive, but knight b5 is the move. And now you are attacking the c3 bishop. You're also attacking the d4 pawn. Also the a5 pawn could get weak, but Arjun's plan is pawn to d5. That's what he wants. He wants to attack the queen. And if you move the queen, Already white is better. So knight c3 is an excellent move. If you take on e6, I'll take on d1. So you take back on c3. And now c takes d5. And one thing has to be said about this position, that these two pawns are so close to becoming queens. Like, a6, b7, b8. This would be very strong. ed5, queen f5 played. And now the a5 pawn is hanging. The queen also looks here. e4 is also a threat. So rook a3. He first defends this, comes out of this diagonal. I guess e4 is a strong move now for black. But Andreikin doesn't play it. He goes rook a6, which is not a great move, because now Arjun can begin with knight to d2 to get his knight on the e4 square eventually. And also to swing the rook over to f3. And he does play knight d2. So if you play bishop g5 attacking here, then the rook can swing over, the knight can go to c4. He goes rook c8. But now a very, very powerful move is queen a4, looking at the e4 square, but Arjun makes a small error. He goes rook c1. I guess if he would have played queen a4 with these ideas, this would have been very powerful. But rook c1 takes on c1. And now queen takes c1 taken. Eyeing somewhere the c8 square, the c7 square. It does look very good for white, but bishop g5. It's an excellent move by Andreikin. And Arjun seems to have calculated something. He goes queen c7. I mean, what about bishop takes d2? Why are you giving up your knight? Well, the reason is after queen takes b7, the rook on a6 is trapped. But now Andreikin has seen that there is a draw here. Firstly, you can take here, 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 but this is risky. After queen a8 check, taking here could get a bit difficult. But he plays queen b1 check, does not take here, check. And now a very, very cool move, bishop f4. And Andreikin has 3 minutes to figure out all the details. g3 is a forced move. So he plays g3. And now very, very important move, queen c2. And the reason you have to play it there, and Andreikin finds it, is because king g2 will be met with queen e4 check. That's the point. That is the point there. And so queen takes a6 taken. Now imagine if you went here and queen e4 check, then rook f3, you have rook takes a5 and black is winning. So queen takes a6, queen f2 taken, king h1. I mean, black would love to try and find some way to continue the game with bishop e3 or something, but rook e3, and it's white who's winning. So check, king g2, and there are just going to be too many checks that are coming in. Queen d2 check. King f1, and now queen c1 check, with the idea of queen takes a3 is a possibility. He goes queen d1, but the thing is, after queen c1, king f2, if you do take here, I can take back this, and anyway there is a perpetual. So Andreikin says, why should I even go after the rook? I can simply keep giving checks. Although here, if you give check, maybe the queen drops back. So you want to be careful with your checks. Queen d4 check is the correct move. And wherever the king goes, king e2, you simply give another check, queen e4 check this time, or just queen d2. King f1, and now Andreikin is looking at his score sheet. He's like, there should be a draw here. I mean, he can claim a draw. And he goes queen d1 check. And a draw is agreed here. A very interesting game by Arjun Erigaisi. and Dmitry Andreikin. Andreikin's ideas of taking his knight to b8 so many times were very interesting. At the same time, Arjun, he did create his chances in this game as white, and he just missed that key moment when he could have played queen to a4, you know, um, giving himself chances there. And let's hope that Arjun manages to play and put a lot of pressure on his opponents in this tournament. And that would be really, really exciting to watch.